years. Is that a must?
No, sir, that is not a must. The one of the things that we will do is make sure that the data that's inside Banner that we don't migrate is safeguarded or archived so that in the future, if we do need to use that data for certain reports or some audit or something, that data will be available to us. It may not be available inside Munis, but we will be able to get our hands on it.
Okay, that answers that question, and I'm sure you will make that decision about how far back that it's necessary to go. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Battle?
Nothing.
Mr. Deal?
Just a comment, Stephen, you've done a great job on this. It looks very professional and cutting edge, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
We appreciate your support.
Yeah, I just repeat what Jim said, Mr. Carter, and one question: our move of the data center, will that impact this at all? Does any of that overlap, or are you able to keep them fairly segregated?
No impact whatsoever on this project, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Carter, we appreciate your presentation. It's very informative. That is actually the only item on the agenda for this morning's meeting. And now, are there any other matters we need to address? Dr. Adams?
No, but that was a question stimulated. I know we don't have any dealings, any control on the counter side, but with some of the new talk about, quote, consolidation, I'm just wondering whether or not this information, as we get into this new information, should there be any coordination between the two entities? And it's just something that came to mind, because if we go through doing this now, and let's say if, quote, consolidation does happen, where does that put us as far as the informational system if we don't invite them? Am I too far out there now?
No, I mean, I think this just pertains to utilities, but Mr. Carter, if you can answer that question.
Yes, sir. Dr. Adams, one of the positions that I hold as the CIO is that I'm actually the CIO for the county and the CIO for the city. I report through Ms. Subadan, and I'm a city employee, but our IT department is the IT department for both the city and the county. So there's always coordination as far as technology is concerned between the two.
That completely answers my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Ms. Battle?
No questions.
Mr. Deal?
Yes, I have a question for Sharon. Sharon, how are our finances going this year? And also, isn't it about time that we have a financial report from Derek, perhaps at the next meeting?
Yes, sir. We are holding steady. As you know, we're year end. We're processing year end for fiscal 20. So the auditors are in right now. We released our unaudited financial statements to the board for fiscal 20. But the audit process is ongoing right now. And so I think maybe not next meeting, but the one after, Mr. Brown will be able to bring that and provide you kind of with a recap of fiscal 20 and let you know where we stand for fiscal 21 year to date.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Loeb?
Kind of where along Jim's lines, Sharon, have we made any progress on the past due balances that we had with the delinquent accounts?
Yes, since we resumed disconnections, we've seen quite a significant reduction in our 60 and 90-day past due balances. So we are starting to catch up. the other thing that's going to happen is probably within 30 days, the customers will see a big drop off because the temperatures are so mild.
Right.
I just looked at the climate comparison year over year. We're down about 3 degrees in September over what we were in September 2019. And, you know, all of us can tell, you know, the air conditionings are not running as much. So, you know, the consumption that we've seen, we're going to see a big drop off in September and a big drop off in October.
And that should really help too. Well, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to discuss a matter, if I may.
Okay, we'll get that next. We'll come around that's the next issue, Ms. Battle. Let me just say, under other matters, I've had people question about when we're going to open up 401 Pine since the numbers are down. I understand the safety concerns, but if we could give the public an answer as to what criteria need to be met, or a specific date or something like that, I think that would be helpful. And with that, the last other business and items for future agenda, Dr. Adams.
I don't know how to categorize this, but I have a question from, this mine is more of a question than an item for the future agenda. I'm sorry.
Okay, we just, no, this is it. We should have got that under other matters. Go ahead.
Oh, to Ms. Subadan.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Subadan, do we still employ a lobbyist to help us out up in Atlanta? If so, I'm sorry, do we still have a lobbyist in Atlanta?
We're in the process of evaluating proposals at this time.
Okay. What brings me to this question was that for years we had a lobbyist to help us secure funds to help us in certain areas. And I was reading an article somewhere where the state had about $200 million that was set aside to help with issues like that cleanup we had with the well and and that they only used about $30 million of that money. And that's an area where the lobbyists generally in the past have been able to help us out. So I would be interested in knowing that whether or not we plan to employ a lobbyist. Do you think it's beneficial? Is a benefit to us to have one? And I'd like to have an update somewhere along the line, if I may, about the progress made in that area.
Sure.
Okay. Ms. Battle, now.
Well, I would like to discuss the group 9 to 5. In our last meeting, September 10th, I know that you, Mayor, said that you had answered in writing the group 9 to 5. Now, I'm new to this board. I kind of assumed that the board would get a copy of that letter prior to being mailed out to 9 to 5. That evening, 2 of the representatives from 9 to 5 asked if I would join them to discuss utilities. Of course, I obliged. Well, as we're discussing their demands, which I've received a copy of that by email, they were addressing your letter. I didn't have a copy of your letter on Thursday. I didn't receive a copy of your responses until Saturday. That was really embarrassing for me. So can we, I guess, do better at communicating to be sure that the board as a whole have responses so that we're prepared if the community has questions to what the answers were? And also, as I said in the last meeting, can we get together, maybe as a board or the city manager, and answer our community's demands? I think you did a good job at responding, Mayor. However, public still doesn't understand. I mean, I am requesting that we respond to them in plain language. We are in a community that has not been active in our government, and now I think that a large number of people are trying. So I think it's worth us, as being members of this community, to show more empathy, compassion, concern, and consideration, and perhaps taking people back to a level where everyone will understand. Everyone doesn't. If you give somebody a budget that says it's 1 point whatever, and you're saying that usage is spiking your bill, we're talking about citizens who don't sit on the utility board, who wasn't the past mayor, who isn't the present mayor, who is not any city official or an employee, that has no clue of what you're saying. They just see a $1 million budget where we are considering personnel fees, a whole lot of things, and they go, you expect me to believe that my monthly utility rate is only from usage? I just think that the neighborly thing to do is for our city manager, even the board or whoever, get together and really come up with a plan and answer our citizens in plain language. If suspension creates a financial problem for the city, tell them that. Tell them why. I mean, connect the dots. If people are continuing to ask the same questions, that's because they're not being answered.
Okay, is that all, Mr. Battle?
That is all.
Okay, well, first, I did not write that letter, and it's clear in that letter that I did not write that letter on behalf of the board. As a matter of fact, I confirmed in the letter what I had told the representatives of 9 to 5. I met with these ladies. Both assistant city managers were here. The meeting lasted more than an hour. I documented to the best of my recall and had the assistant city managers review the draft of the letter. And I didn't certainly, I sent the letter out. Someone requested that I email it to them, the representative 9 to 5, because she was going out of town. And I did that. What I did, I think, was above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, I wrote a letter, set forth the information that I had, included a few personal observations, and I think the letter is a step forward and not a step back. And the empathy and concern that you mentioned, I think, is expressed in the time I spent with this group and the letter I wrote them. And some of the responses were not received very well, and because we have a problem with high utility rates. I understand that. We all understand it. But I tried to set forth in that letter the reasons, and we're going to have more information when our consultant comes forward with the report. But no, I had Miss Amna, I forget Amna's last name, asked my secretary if it could be emailed. I did this on my own time, and certainly I clarified in that letter and made no representation that I was acting or speaking on behalf of the utility board. In point of fact, if you'll read that letter, I encourage the members of 9 to 5 to speak to the individual members of the utility board. So that's my response.
You did. I read your letter.
Ma'am?
I encourage them to do that. But you have to understand, when you send out something to the public, even though you said that, they look at it as a representative of the board. And they contacted me, and I didn't have that letter. That just doesn't create a cohesive board where we're all discussing a very sensitive issue for our community. Again, and I appreciate your letter. It was well written, but however, that's not the way the community looks at it. And Amna Farouk was one of the people that was talking to me on Thursday night, September 10th, and they didn't really appreciate your letter. So what I'm asking our city manager, can you understand what I'm actually asking that, or no? That's to you, Ms. Subadan.
I'm
Ms. Subadan,
sorry.
you on the call?
I am. I'm sorry. I was muted. I guess I'd like some clarity from the entire board. I think that we have made many efforts to explain consumption to our community. Amna will tell you, if she's being honest, that I have met with Amna, for the last 2 years, maybe longer. I've met with representatives of Suiga Rising for the last 2 years, maybe longer. I'll be happy to do what this board directs, because ultimately I work at the pleasure of the City Commission, and this board is a subset of the City Commission, appointed by the City Commission. So, if there's more explaining to do and more information to be provided, I'll be happy to do that. And so I'm subject to your direction.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I make a comment here?
Yes, sir.
If I am hearing this correctly, to me, it's a very simple thing, and I understand the position that my fellow commissioner was placed in, because I've had people to ask me questions about certain documents, and if I don't have any idea as to what it contains, then the next thing they tell me, say, "Aren't you on the utility board?" I say, "Yes, I am," but I'm not familiar with that document or whatever you have in your possession. So I guess not make this complicated. And Ms. Battles has eloquently said that she appreciates your letter. She has no disagreement with the letter. I think it's very simple that she had no idea of the information that was in the letter in order to hopefully defend what you may have said in the letter or respond to what was. So maybe it may not be a bad idea if any communication that goes out concerning the board, that the rest of the board is at least copied that document or letter, so we can at least intelligently respond if somebody on the street walks up to us. There are going to be people who feel comfortable in approaching Ms. Battle or approaching Dr. Adams with a question. Also, they may be with some other commissioners on the board. So we get this all the time. So that being said,
Okay. Thank you. Was that all, Ms. Battle?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say I'm willing to give of my time. Ms. Subadan, any of the assistant city managers, mayor, any board members, to let's sit down, let's talk about this a little bit more. It's important, so that we can come up with some plain language for the public, and then present it to the board as a whole to sign off on it, and then it's disseminated to the public. I say one more chance, one more try at giving the people an understanding of what this really is all about. And I realize that there are going to be always people who are not willing to accept. We get that. But I just think as a citizen that in a sensitive time as we are in right now, it really takes one more time to to put something together as a team so that we can address to the best of our ability to the public.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Deal?
No, I'm okay. I think I understand Ms. Battle's concern.
Mr. Logue?
Just a quick observation. I think that perhaps you did, well, no, you did make it very clear that you weren't responding to the board. And if nothing else, I think that because 9 to 5 did come before the board, that the board ought to officially respond. And I'm happy to take your letter, all the information you gave, all the information that Ms. Subadan has shared with us on all the things that have been done and all the assistance that has been provided, and put that out. And I think that's what Brenda is talking about. But
Okay.
That's my only observation, is I think that there should be something official from the board so that it shows that we are being responsive.
Well,
Okay. Wait. Well, let's if we could do that, if Mr. Logue and Ms. Battle want to get with staff and put together a letter, would that be agreeable with everyone?
yes, I have a question. I feel kind of left out here. I didn't see a copy of the letter. My question is, how many other board members got a copy of the letter? Hello?
I did.
I got a copy.
Yeah, I got
a copy.
I did not.
Well, I'm sorry, Dr. Adams, I'll send it to you today, but we certainly sent a letter to all the members of the board. Sorry if you didn't receive it, but I will send a copy today.
Okay, thank you.
Is that agreeable that Mr. Logue and Mr. Logue and Ms. Battle will get with somebody from the utility board to put together a draft of a letter to respond to 9 to 5?
I'm willing to do that.
Ms. Battle?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll
Say this, and we're going to finish it up. I met with 9 to 5 as the mayor and as the chairman, and I made that clear in the letter. The reason this, and I think it was emailed to Ms. Farouk, because I think she called my assistant, and my assistant said, we've done the letter and put it in, and she asked that it be emailed, if I'm correct, because she was going out of town. It would have been sent by the mail to everybody had it not been for that request. And if I made any mistake at all, it was emailing the letter to Ms. Farouk, and I can assure you that won't happen again. But be that as it may, we'll get together, and we look forward to seeing this letter after Ms. Battle and Mr. Logue get with staff.
Mayor, I have
Yes, ma'am.
before you wrap up, I have a couple of things to report.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is now the right time? Are you good?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I wanted to let the utility board know that we are sending a crew to Louisiana for mutual aid. Through ECG, they've requested a crew. We're sending a 5-member crew. The last crew had a good experience, came back more experienced, and it's always good for us to be part of that process. Some of you, this board should be aware that the transition with Concrete Enterprises has occurred. There have been a lot of complaints about barrels not picked up. And so I want to make it clear to this board that the old barrels that are not picked up is a responsibility of our old contract, GFL. Right now, we are working with them. We're withholding their last payment until they make good on all of their contractual obligations. And so we're asking you as utility board members to get the word out. Please put your old can on the curb. If your old can is left on the curb, it will be picked up. The other thing that we have discovered is, and this is something I will bring to the utility board as a as a policy to be adopted is at some point, there's an ordinance that requires every city resident in our service area to have trash service. But at some point, a decision was made that allowed people to start service, let's say for electricity, and tell us that they would add their trash later because they hadn't moved in yet or construction was underway. Well, what we found is there are some accounts that have slipped through the cracks and we have not been collecting. So two things I'd like to bring to the board. One of them is that it's my recommendation that we fix it and move forward rather than try to go back and collect, because the error really is on both sides. We should have caught it. They shouldn't be getting a service that they're not paying for. But given that it's sort of a mutual mess, I don't think that we should try to penalize people and go back. That's going to be my recommendation, but ultimately you're the policymakers. The other thing that I want to bring as a policy for the board to adopt is that trash service is automatic as soon as you start any service. Because even if you're not physically living in the premises, you're likely generating some trash, whether it's yard trash, whether it's, there are renovations being conducted, or there's it's a rental property and clean out is being done. So I'd like to bring that as a policy because I think it should be automatic. There is a city ordinance that requires every person living in our service area to have trash service. So we are trying to work through that, clean it up. We will bring something to this utility board for some policies to be adopted so that we can be consistent across the board. The other thing that I want to make plain, and we're going to be putting this out on Facebook, is taking another person's trash can is a crime. And we've had a lot of that. In one day, there were 16 trash cans that were just moved by somebody else. And the vendor had to go, go find those trash cans and put them back where they belong. Stealing a trash can is a crime. Having trash service is a subscription service that needs to be paid for. So right now we are working through getting all of the old trash cans picked up. We ask that you encourage your residents to be patient. The other thing we're going to do for the next couple of weeks is any trash can that's on the curb will be emptied. But at some point, the old cans will be taken away. And the last thing is if you have more than one can, you have to pay more than one fee. It's not unlimited. If you have a second can, then there's a second fee for that, which is the other thing we discovered. It seems like people had an old can from a prior vendor, and then they got another can and they were only paying for one. So this is actually giving us an opportunity to do some cleanup, some audit. We will audit the east side at some point, but it's important for the utility board to know. So if you hear complaints, you understand the genesis of the complaints, as well as it is quite likely as we go through AMI and we start to put in new meters, we may also find that there are services that are out there that will need some cleanup as well. So I just wanted to put that in front of you and make sure that you're aware and ask that you be patient. And as you get those questions and calls, you help people to understand they just need to put out the old can. It will get picked up.
Ms. Superdan.
Any questions for me?
Ms. Superdan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A little levity this morning. I didn't know there was a market for stolen garbage cans.
Okay. Ms. Battle, you have any questions for Ms. Subhadan?
No.
Mr. Deal?
Sharon, I just have a comment. Concrete Enterprise picked up on Monday at our house, and it looked like things were going very smoothly with them.
Thank you.
Ms. Logue?
Ms. Subhadan, just thank you and all the folks in the Waste Division for handling the transition, because there are always problems when you transition from any vendor to another. So we will, those are problems that, that we should be able to explain to everyone pretty easily. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. We'll stand adjourned.